Hi, this is Lynn, and welcome to another Persuasion Byte, bite-sized tips on persuasion that you can use right away. Have you ever noticed there are some problems at work that never seem to go away? Sometimes it's all in your head. There's an idea called prevalence induced concept change, PICC. Let's call it PICC for short. What this means is that once you identify an issue and you start solving it, you start noticing all of the other issues around it, and you dump them in to the original problem. And it feels like this has gotten larger and it's never going to get solved. Here's a scoop. You and I have talked about how our brains are a pattern-seeking organ. Once we identify a pattern, we start looking for it, sometimes even when it isn't there. How do we know this? Scientists at Harvard conducted a study. They asked participants to sit in front of computer screens and identify blue dots in a field of other multicolored dots. And participants were really good about this at the beginning. They could identify those blue dots easily. And then as the experiment went on, the scientists programmed fewer blue dots onto the screen. Did participants identify fewer blue dots on the screen? No. They identified roughly the same number of dots. But what they did was they took dots that were originally purple when they started the experiment and started classifying those things as blue dots. They started looking for the patterns and finding them even when they weren't there. And here's the scoop too. Scientists told some of the participants that this would happen, that they would experience prevalence-induced concept change. And even though participants knew this would happen and were supposedly on guard for it, they were picky anyway. So what does this mean for us at work? Once you identify a problem and start working on it and make progress, what ends up happening is that the situation improves, and people start noticing all the ancillary issues around this. And usually they have a tendency to dump this stuff back into the original problem, which makes it feel like we never solve anything and the problems get bigger. It's kind of like scope creep. Here are 3 things you can do to prevent this. Number 1, clearly identify the issue that you're dealing with. Write it down, and also write down how it will look when the problem has been solved. 2, check back on this frequently so you can measure the progress that you're making toward the goals that you've set. And 3, notice that there will be other things coming in that are associated problems and that originally you dump into the original first issue. Don't do that. Instead, start again. Make that a separate problem. Identify it and how it will look when you've solved it. And that way, you're not facing scope creep and having people who are being picky. So there you have it. Once you follow this process, you'll see the progress that you're making on all of the problems that seemed intractable before and seemed to explode way beyond the original capability. And as you make progress, you can celebrate with your people, and you can share these stories with other folks in your organization and become the most persuasive person in the room. Thanks for watching.